So now, before we get started on this futures recap video, since this is the first futures recap video that I'm recording, what I'm going to do is quickly explain to you, for those of you that may not know how to calculate profits on futures, right? A majority of you are simply used to trading shares, right? You buy 1,000 shares of, I don't know, Microsoft at $50, and then you sell it for $1. Well, in your head, that's easy, right? It's just 1,000 shares times 1. So you made a profit of $1,000. Now in futures, it's a little bit different only because there's only one additional metric. So don't be overwhelmed. You'll be able to understand the futures profit calculator in about 5 seconds. All right. So there's 3 main concepts to understand when trading futures. And for those of you that have traded Forex, you're probably going to be familiar with this. All right. So the first concept is the concept of points. How much is your market moving intraday, right? As an example, if the Dow Jones is at 20,000 and it's up 300 points, well, that's your answer. It's 300 points on the Dow Jones, right? If it's, I don't know, something like the E-minis, right? So the E-minis, say the E-minis is down 20 points. Well, that's your point size, 20. So the next concept is called instrument size or contract size. All right. This is really the main concept you need to understand. Every futures instrument is going to have its own contract size, and it's represented by a number. As an example, the contract size on gold is 100. What does that mean? Well, one contract of gold contains 100 shares. The contract size for the ES, which is the S&P 500 futures index here in the United States, that's 50. What does that mean? Well, it means one contract contains 50 shares. All right. The Dow Jones, again, one contract on the Dow Jones contains 5 shares. You see what I'm saying? So every instrument is going to have its own contract size. All right. So the last concept you got to realize is the lot size, and that's also represented by a number, and that's pretty similar to those of you that have traded both stocks and Forex. The lot size is just essentially the number of units that you're trading within your broker, right? So as an example, if we look at the bottom here, say you're trading gold. All right, and you're trading a 2-lot on gold. Say you were able to capture 9 points on gold, and you're trading a 2-lot. All right, so like I said, the first thing you have to figure out is what is the contract size of gold? The answer is it's 100. All right, so you now have the 3 variables you need to figure out what your profit is. And so that very last line captures what you need to know. 9, which is the number of points you captured, times 100, which is the contract size of gold, times 2, which is the number of lots you were trading on your broker. That total comes out to $1,700. So if you can capture 9 points on gold every day, which is extremely doable. I mean, gold moves like 20 points a day. If you can just capture 9 points, you'll make $1,700 per day on gold. Okay? And just so you get an idea of other examples with other futures instruments, the NQ, my personal favorite, here's another example. All right, so the first variable, 40. If you can capture 40 points on the NQ, and keep in mind, the NQ moves almost 200 points sometimes intraday. If you can just capture 40 points, all right, you take 40, you multiply it by the contract size of the NQ, which in this case is 20, and you multiply that by 5, which is the number of lots that I trade. I mean, 5 is nothing, so I like to trade at least 100 shares of anything. All right, so if you can do that, if you can capture a lousy 40 points on the NQ, you'll make $4,000 a day. And I'm not saying you have to trade 5 lots. You can trade a 1 lot, right? There's nothing wrong with trading a one lot. Perfectly fine. Plenty of my traders do that. All right. Now, if we take a look at the Dow, right? The Dow Jones, right? So if you can capture 200 points on the Dow, and keep in mind the Dow moves 300 to 400 points sometimes intraday, and the contract size is 5 for the Dow Jones. So you can see there's a 5 plugged in there on the variable. And then the last variable is 2. Let's say you're trading a 2 lot. Well, you'll make $2,000 per day if you can capture 200 points on the Dow, which again, is not hard. All right, so before we continue on, folks, I really want to make sure you understand how futures trading works. It can be a little bit complicated when you first start, but again, it is no different than trading Forex, stocks, or options. The profit calculation is exactly the same. All right, let's go ahead and kick things off with my favorite, the NQ. All right, moment of truth here. I can promise you that when you finish watching this video, you're going to see why I have an absolute obsession with NQ futures. I mean, I love it more than anything, more than Forex, more than stocks, more than anything. It's just hands down the best futures instrument to trade in the world, especially if you have trend trading software, or you're a trend trader, or you like to capture huge, gigantic moves. All right. So this is hands down the trade of the week on the NQ. You can see here we got the nice, beautiful short signal right there, and we got the nice long signal right there. Right now, that's not enough. We still got to wait. Right. And what do we wait for? Well, we wait for price to retrace into the length of both of those signal bars, right? If you've seen my videos, this is not new, right? And of course, price did what it always does and retrace into the length of both of those signal bars. And when that happens, you're looking for shorts over here, and you're looking for longs over here, right? And you can see with the dyno bars on the NQ, when the trend starts, when you get an alert that a trend is about to start, that thing is a fucking doozy, right? For a huge amount of profit, right? These are real numbers, folks, right? The NQ will give you this kind of profit potential. So if you remember my clip from a couple seconds ago, we take the points, we multiply it by the contract size, and we multiply it by the number of contracts, right? So 100 times 20 times 5, that's $10,000, right? $10,000 in one day. These are real numbers, folks, all right? This is no joke. These are real numbers, all right? So this happens in the NQ almost every week. You're not going to see these kind of moves in any other market. And this is why I strongly encourage those of you that are looking to trade, are beginner traders, are trading other things like Forex or stops, you have to start looking at futures. I'm telling you, futures is where the action is. All right. So now let's go ahead and take a look at gold futures. All right, so what you're looking at here is a chart on gold with the dyno bars filter on top of it. Gold is one of the most fascinating instruments to trade simply because it's actually traded in 4 or 5 different countries. So regardless of where you live, you should have no excuse if you want to trade gold, right? There are dozens of brokers in every country in the world that will allow you to trade gold in some form or another, right? So These are more of the same signals and the same patterns, right? We get a nice, beautiful long signal on gold right there, and we get a nice short signal right there. Both times, price retraces back into the length of the signal bar, just like that, right? Now, what does this mean? This is what it means, right? 14 points easily happens every single day on gold. It may be a little bit less some days, it may be a lot more on other days, but gold consistently averages 10 to 15 points. All that means is gold moves less than 1% a day, right? That's nothing. So 14 points on a gold trade we took 2 days ago. This was the profit potential, right? 14 points times 100, which is the contract size for gold, times a 2-lot, right? $3,800. 1 day trading gold, right? So you can see some of the power behind a trend trading system combined with the leverage that futures trading offers, right? You're not going to get this leverage in stocks. I don't know if you get this type of leverage in Forex. I think you get something similar. But there's brokers out there that let you trade one contract of gold for like $500. All right. So the point is, when you find heavily trending markets, you have to milk those markets for every single point, right? It all comes down to points in the futures market. The entire day when you trade comes down to how many points can I capture for myself, right? So let's take a look at one more instrument for those of you that like trading index futures. All right, now what you're seeing on the screen here is something called the DAX. The DAX is the major stock index in Germany, right? Now, why am I showing you this? Well, I'll tell you why. The DAX is known for being one of the most volatile futures instruments in the world. I mean, I would rank this maybe number 2 or 3 behind the NQ, right? So that's saying something, right? The NQ is always going to be number 1, but the DAX is very close behind it, right? So, I mean, first of all, you can see how nicely this thing trends on the dyno bars, right? If we were going to draw the signals, I'm hoping this is obvious to you by now. Here's the short signal right there. Here's the long signal. Here's a long signal, and you were pretty much long all day. You got no short signals whatsoever. And then here, more of the same patterns. One long signal and one short signal, and nice retracements across the board every day, right? So I tell people, when you're trading, whether it's futures, Forex, stocks, doesn't matter, I like minimal signals, right? I like 1, 2, 3, a max of 4 signals per day. Why? Because when you focus your trading on getting very minimal signals, those signals are going to be the most powerful ones, right? I mean, it just makes sense, right? The less signals that appear, the stronger those signals are. That's essentially how trend trading systems like dyno bars can piggyback off the leverage that's provided to you in futures, in Forex. I don't think you get the same amount of leverage you do in Forex and futures that you would in stocks, right? I mean, stocks are kind of useless. I mean, for those of you that trade stocks, please contact me and let me educate you on why you're wasting your time, right? Futures and Forex is the name of the game. That's where you're going to make all your money, a majority of your income in your trading career, right? But again, why am I showing you the DAX? Well, I'll tell you. The DAX is very good for trend trading, and it's also has an interesting set of hours, right? Most people in the United States don't bother trading the DAX because the session starts at 1 o'clock in the morning Chicago time, right? So for those of you that are located outside the United States, or if you're a night owl, right? I can promise you, you're really going to be impressed by the way the DAX performs on your trend trading software. that you use. I mean, this thing just trends so nicely, you would not even believe it, and it does it every single day, every week, every month. All right. So listen, folks, this is the weekly recap for futures. I'm going to start doing this pretty consistently from now on, because I'm determined to show you guys that you don't have to be boxed in, right? Don't let anybody ever tell you you can only trade one instrument. You can only trade Forex. You can only trade stocks. You can only trade options. No. You as a day trader should be trading whatever makes money, right? For me personally, the way to make money is by trading a trend. What instruments have the best trends? There's only two. There's Forex and there's futures. Again, like I said earlier in this video, you guys that are trading stocks, or you guys that are trading options, or you guys that are not trading at all and just watching from the sidelines, contact me and I'm going to show you how futures trading and Forex trading is going to change your life forever, right? You still have to have proper discipline, you still have to have the right trading hours, and you still have to approach this like a business, right? But if you can do all those things and you can do them successfully, I promise you're going to make a boatload of money in the futures markets. All right? So thanks for watching this video, and as always, best trading wishes.